Big Boss is the hero who lived long enough to see himself become the villain. In a world where soldiers are commodified and used as tools to further their government's political agenda, BB saw a solution in making himself one of the manipulators in charge. His dream started as his making a PMC where no soldier would be pitted against their friend, and morphed into a PMC that threatened the world with nukes. How could BB live through the Cold War and fight against a nuclear World War III, then turn around and weaponize nukes himself? Why does BB believe the world is a better place with him in charge as he churns out more and more soldiers for a never-ending war he's perpetuating? And how is it that his clone son, Snavid, takes the opposite course and fights to make the world a safer place? Much like his father, Snavid has a lengthy military career. He's betrayed by his government when he's turned into a walking bioweapon without his knowledge or consent. But instead of becoming a world power himself, independent so that he can influence the way the world works, he forms a non-governmental organization and fights to dismantle Metal Gears and make the world a safer place. Snavid doesn't perpetuate war and doesn't hoard nukes. Why is he so different from his father BB? Heads up, this video will have spoilers for Metal Gear Solid 3 and Metal Gear Solid 4 and Metal Gear Solid Peace Walker. Welcome back. If you're new here, my name is Luffy and welcome to my channel. I talk video games and character analysis, so if that's your thing, subscribe and stick around. If you like what I do here, consider supporting me on Patreon or becoming a channel member so that I can continue to bring these videos to you weekly. Today we're exploring BB and Snavid and their differences. Why did BB turn out to be a villain, while Snavid turned out to be a hero? Let's hop right into things. What influenced Big Boss?
Snake, you were an atomic test subject, weren't you? On Bikini Atoll. That's part of the reason I was drawn to you. You and I are alike.
The Boss, the mother of Special Forces, a legend known across the world, takes BB under her wing when he's only 15 years old. Together, the two develop CQC, a close-quarters combat that's incredibly difficult to counter. Through their work together, they become unimaginably close. But BB feels like there's something missing from his training. He wants the Boss to teach him how to think like a soldier, but in the words of the Boss,
I can't teach you that. A soldier needs to be strong in spirit, body, and technique. And the only thing you can learn from someone else is technique.
The Boss's spirit wants to see the world made whole. When she had the opportunity to see the Earth from space, she realized the world was a celestial body hurtling through space void of borders. It made the tensions between the East and West seem inconsequential. Despite her warning that she can't teach BB how to think, she tries to impart this goal to him. She tells him,
Is there such a thing as an absolute timeless enemy? There is no such thing, and never has been. And the reason is that our enemies are human beings like us. They can only be our enemies in relative terms. The world must be made whole again.
She tells BB this as they've been pitted against one another as enemies. She was his ally just weeks ago, then defected to Vulcan's unit, and now BB's tasked with ending her to save the world from World War III. BB has been put in an impossible situation. End the Boss and save the world, or betray his country for his mentor. This defining moment in their history would shape the rest of BB's life and would loom over all of his decisions. Unfortunately, the Boss was right, and she really couldn't teach BB how to think. Instead of taking away her dream of seeing the world united, he latches on to an earlier part of her speech.
Enemies change along with the times, the flow of the ages, and we soldiers are forced to play along.
BB was forced to fight someone he loved because his government demanded he do so. At the end of Metal Gear Solid 3, after the Boss has already been dispatched, BB learns that the Boss never defected in the first place and was a pawn, like he was. Both the Boss and BB were used by their government to further their government's political goals. BB never wanted to be pitted against someone he cared about like that ever again, or see anyone else pitted against their friends. He felt he could stop the commodification of soldiers if he was in charge of them. BB starts his PMC, MSF, with the principles that friends will never have to fight friends, that they don't take sides in a conflict and fight for whoever is the highest bidder, and that the real enemy is the times themselves.
We are going to be fighting the biggest beast of all. The times.
The Boss is BB's main influence. She raised him, taught him everything she knew, but she may as well have been throwing spaghetti at the wall because only part of what she told him stuck. What were Big Boss's goals?
I won't make the same choice as her. My future
As we talked about in a previous section, BB wanted to grow a PMC where soldiers could fight for the love of the fight and not be used as political tools. This dream starts to be realized in Metal Gear Solid Peace Walker with MSF. However, by the end of MGS-PW, they've had to interfere with the times to prevent all-out nuclear war. By the end of MGS-PW, BB also has a Metal Gear of his own, Metal Gear Zeke, and a nuke he lifted from Peace Walker. BB and Cause tell themselves they're keeping the nuke to deter other countries from nuking them, though this assertion from BB is very telling.
As long as there are nukes out there, we need one ourselves if we're going to be a world power.
BB is looking to be a nuclear world power. Instead of uniting the world the way the boss wanted, BB is dividing it further as he asserts MSF as an independent country. What influenced Solid Snake? Like BB, Snavid had a legendary soldier teaching him early on in his military career how to be a deadly soldier. Snavid's influence was BB. Snavid gives us a glimpse into the kind of supportive mentor BB was to him when he quotes him, "Never give up, fight until the end. Always believe you will succeed, even when the odds are against you. Those are your words." Unfortunately, just like BB was forced to face his mentor on the battlefield, Snavid is tasked with taking BB down. By this point in BB's life, he's gone full villain. BB believes that warriors can never be satisfied by anything but war, and that Snavid is no different. BB tells Snavid, "You and I are doomed to remain here until we die like dogs on the battlefield." BB's death by Snavid's hand seems less impactful than BB losing the boss, and I think in part that's because Snavid had more support than BB. Beyond MGS3 where BB loses the boss, the rest of his support team, i.e. Paramedic, Sigint, Zero, all go on to work towards Zero's idea of the boss's will, excluding Ocelot and Eva. Zero's idea of the boss's will involves using BB as a mascot for their new organization, which could have made him feel like he had no real friends, since he wasn't on board for being Zero's mascot. Yes, Colonel Campbell goes on to betray Snavid in MGS1, but only under duress, and he clearly doesn't like hurting Snavid. Cause is another mentor of Snavid's, one he clearly respects as he calls him Master Miller. Beyond Metal Gear 2, Snavid meets Otacon in Metal Gear Solid 1. Otacon shows Snavid that when you know something wrong is happening, it's your responsibility to stop it. Otacon is Metal Gear Rex's designer, though he's originally told the Metal Gear is for defense purposes only. When Otacon is told that Rex was created to launch nukes from the beginning, he immediately switches sides to help Snavid and resolves,
"I created Rex. It's my right, my duty to destroy him."
That kind of character had to have been an influence on Snavid. Before MGS1, Snavid was retired in Alaska. He had no interest in making the world a better place or doing anything for anyone other than himself. He's forced to take on the mission on Shadow Moses Island. After meeting Otacon, however, he has a change of heart and forms Philanthropy with him, a non-governmental organization geared towards bringing down and exposing Metal Gears. What were Solid Snake's goals? Snavid's goals transform from being a sad sack in Alaska to trying to rid the world of Metal Gears, to bringing down Metal Gear Solid's version of the Illuminati, the Patriots. The theme that runs true is that Snavid puts himself aside to better the world. In Metal Gear Solid 2, Snavid tells Raiden,
"Choose your own legacy. It's for you to decide."
This is a philosophy Snavid lives by himself as well. BB tried to tell Snavid what his legacy was, that he was doomed to die like a dog on the battlefield. But Snavid rejects that and uses the time he has and the skills he has to better the world. In MGS4, Snavid is given 3 months to live. Despite what little time he has left, he continues to dedicate himself to the eradication of the Patriots and the Patriots' AIs. Your thoughts? I've been thinking a lot about why Snavid turned out so differently from BB. He really is BB's opposite in the way that he's driven to make the world a better, safer place, and is ready to sacrifice himself to achieve those goals. I was curious to know what y'all thought factored into Snavid's choices, if maybe Otacon had influenced him, he knew Metal Gears had to be stopped, or maybe Snavid's just driven to do the right thing. So we took a poll here on YouTube. The majority of you voted Snavid's driven to do the right thing, which I understand. Part of me thinks about how little Snavid was doing to make the world a better place in between Metal Gear 2 and Metal Gear Solid though, and wonders if Otacon pushed Snavid to do more. User PC3IO5JI10 commented, "I think that BB's traumatic experiences had a lot to do with him going on to be a bad guy. He was almost always being betrayed, manipulated, or used in some way which led him to become bitter and pessimistic. Solid, on the other hand, has been surrounded by people who support him and genuinely care about him. His friends and allies are what led him to be a hero, whereas BB's loneliness and isolation led him to become a villain." They make a really good point. Really, the only person that doesn't betray BB is Ocelot. Everyone else uses BB or betrays him. Whereas Snavid has Otacon, Mei Ling, Meryl, the list can go on and on. Snavid has so much support that they put together a small army in MGS4 to support his mission to take down Liquid Ocelot's Outer Haven. Noah Hater 4292 commented, "Technically, Big Boss always wanted to do good, but he fell into the old adage, either die a hero or live long enough to be the villain. If Solid Snake wasn't cursed with a shorter lifespan, I can promise that something similar would have played out again." Which I find so fascinating. BB definitely lived long enough to see himself become the villain, but could Snavid fall into the same pitfall if given enough time to? Personally, I don't see it. I think the worst Snavid could do is isolate himself and relapse into his alcoholism, but this really got me thinking. Does anyone else think Snavid could have become the villain of MGS had he been given enough time? I'd love to hear from you in the comments. Tony Soprano 0818 commented, "Maybe it just goes to show that Snavid really was the best of Big Boss, without any of the baggage like murdering his own mentor, or having an entire company of men under him betrayed and killed. I look at Snake in MGS3 and my heart breaks for what could have been. A force for good to rival Snavid." Tony's perspective really broke my heart. Although I know Liquid, Solid, and Solidus are all clones of BB, I don't really see them as clones and see them as their own people. The thought that Snavid is the best of BB, while Liquid is probably the worst, sorry Liquid, is heartbreaking. Snavid could definitely represent the potential good BB could have put into the world. Why did BB choose to go down a path that further splintered the world? Why was he driven to build Metal Gears and hoard nukes? Why was his clone son, Snavid, so different from BB despite being designed genetically to take his place? Is it enough to say the influences surrounding these men steered them down one path or another? Or do they have something inside of them that predetermined BB to be a villain and Snavid to be a hero? What do you think? Let me know in the comments. Thank you so much for making it to the end of today's video. If you liked it, share it with someone who wants to know more about Metal Gear Solid lore. If you need more MGS content, check out my Patreon. I upload articles I write on upcoming videos or just thought pieces on MGS in general. You can also support me and the channel by becoming a channel member. Or join us in Discord. We're always talking about MGS. More importantly than that though, please take care of yourself and I'll catch you on the next one. Thank you.